We begin in the heart of Africa, 1976. A team of WHO doctors treks through the jungle, heading to a remote mission outside the Ebola River. This is not a normal investigation. A deadly virus has decimated the staff, turning them into a gruesome mess. Dr. Leon barely manages to gather a sample before fleeing, a sample that hints at a plague that could end humanity. Fast forward to Washington, D.C., 1980. The world is changing. Dr. Don Francis fights tooth and nail for funding, but Reagan's administration is more focused on politics. Then, from New York to LA, something's brewing. A new strain of pneumonia, Kaposi sarcoma, and a terrifying pattern starts to emerge. Dr. Ginnan, a sharp epidemiologist, starts receiving troubling news. A series of bizarre illnesses that seem to target gay men. She needs backup and fast. That's when Dr. Don Francis, a name whispered with respect for his battles against Ebola, comes into the picture. Francis, driven and brilliant, agrees to investigate, and their journey begins to uncover the truth. The investigation takes them from San Francisco bathhouses to New York hospitals, and the more they uncover, the more desperate the situation becomes. The numbers are rising, people are dying agonizing deaths, and the silence from the government is deafening. Dr. Francis, stubborn and fearless, starts butting heads with Washington, while Dr. Ginnan races against time to understand how this thing spreads. There is so much they don't know. It's sexually transmitted, but it's worse. It's a perfect storm of death. While the political machine drags its feet and victims are ignored, Dr. Francis and his team find themselves battling not just a disease, but social apathy and blatant homophobia. The gay community is being decimated. Their loved ones are dying and no one cares. The government is nowhere to be seen. Can they find a way to identify and contain a deadly illness that nobody seems willing to take seriously? As we rejoin the narrative, the hunt for the source of this mysterious illness intensifies. Dr. Don Francis is grappling with the political implications, while Dr. Jim Curran wrestles with the science, or lack thereof. The latest report brings grim news. 4 known dead in Miami's Haitian community, a population already marginalized and reluctant to come forward. What does gestations mean, and why were they targeted? The puzzle deepens. Meanwhile, a doctor in the Bronx reports that 11 newborn babies have the disease. What began as an affliction largely confined to the gay community now threatens to spill over into the wider population, and now Haitians, fueling fear and prejudice. Will they dismiss it as a gay or Haitian disease, or will they see the bigger picture? The clock ticks as more fall ill. Dr. Francis sits in his motel room, the walls closing in as he struggles to convince his superiors that this is a real disease. He watches a news report that calls it gay cancer, just more fuel for moral panic, and a reminder that this battle is happening as much in the realm of public opinion as it is in the laboratory. I may be down, but I'm not out. It's the battle cry, but how long before the world accepts that this is not someone else's problem, it's everyone's problem? At a local diner, 2 of the CDC's finest, Dr. Harold Jaff and Dr. Francis, debate a puzzling new development: 4 dead among Miami's Haitian population. Just Haitians, but does that make it simpler? The puzzle gets even more puzzling. Dr. Francis shares how he felt when he first contracted this disease. The reality: I may be down, but I'm not out. At Harvard, a statistician and Dr. Francis work to get approval to look at the stats, and the conclusion: is this even sexually transmitted, or can it be sexually transferred as well? Time has long run out, but they are just realizing the clock is ticking. What happens if these are just the first few dead of a virus that can cause thousands more deaths across the USA and globally? But can those facts, those deaths, be proven? What will it take? Bill Darrow has met the architect from the plane. They're just discussing life over jelly, donuts, and coffee when Jaff arrives, sharing that Greg has it, and he's gone on to share his love with others. But Darrow isn't having it. The gay population already believes that the people on his lover list may have given him this disease. So it's time to close the bathhouses, and the only thing that's needed is Darrow. Back in Atlanta, the scientists know what Darrow needs. What we're looking for looks like a combination between feline leukemia and hepatitis B, but you can't get that if people keep their hands to themselves and go home at the end of the night. Can they be stopped, though? Can this epidemic be stopped before it's too late? All right, As the team grapples with the grid epidemic, it's Dr. Robert Gallo who starts making serious headway. But war, or battle? Semantics heat up the room, yet strides toward finding the virus continue, even if the CDC isn't fully on board yet. Cells, cultures, test tubes, the scientists toil, chasing a retrovirus that's proving elusive. How will we know? It's always the big question, isn't it? If numbers continue to rise, but with no antiviral, the weight of urgency grows heavy. Numbers climb, numbers fall. Are they real or just noise? The clock is ticking, and they need a retrovirus now. But the battle continues to forge onwards. More data, more testing, more theories. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, alarm bells ring as Broadway takes a hit from a mysterious ailment. A promising star gone too soon. In the bustling streets, our CDC investigator, Don Francis, catches wind of Gallo's special unit, a chance to join the war. But is there more to the story than just scientific battle? There's a growing mystery. It seems that a woman has died, but no one seems to be able to really know why for sure. Back in the lab, the race continues. What can they prove? Not just know or think, but irrefutably prove. The team starts picking at what the public is already reading, and the scientific wheels begin to turn. A grim realization. This might be history's first epidemic where nobody officially dies. Wow, that hits hard. And that new information is causing a bit of panic in Don as he starts to think this could be a huge problem. In Colorado, a boy is dying, not just of hemophilia, but something more, and a family left in the dark, grieving. Questions start to rise, and with each stone unturned, the darker the narrative becomes. The team struggles against red tape to isolate the virus. The clock keeps ticking, though, and things aren't looking great. At the CDC in Atlanta, a pivotal decision looms to call it GRID or AIDS. The weight of this choice is palpable. This is how the story begins, with how it is being told. While that may not seem like much, remember that it is a start, a name to put on a nameless plague. But to get to this point, Don realizes there will be some serious politics to overcome. At the very moment you think things are going to get better, Don learns how dangerous this entire mess could be. This one is a marathon and is only going to get harder. As Francis grapples with the fallout of his actions, he gets a call from Gallo. Congratulations are in order. Francis helped Gallo gain access to the French virus. Francis is confused. What makes Gallo think they didn't discover the virus? And what makes Gallo think Francis cares? It becomes more clear in this discussion why Gallo made the call, to celebrate over Francis, and the phone call ends. Meanwhile, Barbie is celebrating as well, and everyone receives small papers that look like lotto scratch-offs. The results for the test are in. Everyone looks to be in the clear. As things continue to look up, a young man arrives, and the mood drops. What is this about? A tearful embrace with one of the men in the lab shows the truth. He got the virus. News outlets quickly spread fear, and as we know from before, masks are issued, and even first aid classes get shut down, while New York funeral directors refuse to deal with bodies. A suspected AIDS victim is losing his job and his friends. People were scared. AIDS. We need research, not hysteria. How will everyone continue fighting for solutions if they're too busy fighting their neighbors over their fear of something they don't understand? Mayor Ed Koch tries to help with his voice, but this has clearly become a human issue. Francis and a friend are walking when the friend points out the Gallo got the patent for the blood test that Francis helped him get. But that means if the French sue, the process is going to be held up even longer. At a dinner for Gallo, Francis arrives and confronts him. There's a lot of debate here. But after this is done, the genetic makeup of the virus isn't different enough to tell Gallo that he discovered what causes it. Francis heads to Kiko's room. It just hurts him that this all didn't need to happen, and looks longingly to his Kiko, whose name will be put on this planet. Francis visits a grieving Kiko and puts the glasses on to see the way they used to for each other. He tells Kiko that he already has it done, but has asked for the transfer to San Francisco. As Francis heads toward the elevator, he runs into Selma. It seems Gallo did the deed. Kiko does in fact have it, from the same patient. Selma and Francis leave in the ambulance as it plays a rendition of Knocking on Heaven's Door. But as we know now, it wasn't the end. By the time President Reagan made the first speech on the AIDS crisis, 25,000 Americans had lost their lives. By the end of the decade, they estimate 40 million would be infected. San Francisco closed its bathhouses as communities scrambled for resources. But that didn't mean the band stopped playing. We come to understand that the fight is still controversial, while supporters applaud the continued research. The legacy of the 80s AIDS crisis shows that the fight goes on. We need more funds and support than ever, so that we need to be prepared when the bell tolls for the next global health emergency. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay awesome, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.